Hello, my name is Laura George, and I'm the Executive Director of the Oracle Institute, which is headquartered at the Peace Pentagon in Independence, Virginia. I will be your host today as we explore how to build the new world, the title of our upcoming conference. Barbara Marx Hubbard was the keynote speaker at BTNW 2015, and she talked about the importance of us using an interconnected systems theory model. She called for a peace room as sophisticated as a war room, and she envisioned this peace room modeled on her wheel of co-creation, the full spectrum approach we use at our conferences. Barbara was a true visionary, one of the first futurists, and she ran for Vice President of the United States on her peace room platform. So today, we want to start our presentation by having Barbara explain where we are on the evolutionary spiral.
It has been said that 5, 10, 15 years from now, if we do not change very, very quickly, we're over 7 billion people now, there may be only 2 billion left. We're talking a horrendous crisis. So all of these sequences are going to speed up or not. Now, here is the amazing thing. There are now enough people on Earth who are not caught, who have the freedom, who are in not just the second tier perhaps, but who have enough food, who have enough clothing, who have enough awareness, and we have the internet and the noosphere, that if you could do a planetary scan and imagine how many people on Earth now would like to realize their greater potential, would like to overcome a crisis that could lead to the destruction of life on Earth, would like to participate in something greater if they had a call, how many do you think it would be? Would it be enough? There is a design in the process of creation where when the system is becoming dysfunctional, innovations are cropping up and there's a tendency for them to connect. And he called it nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovating elements. And the system cooperates in its own self-transcendence. It's a very dangerous moment, but if that tendency for innovations and creative solutions to connect works quickly enough, the actual entropy of the dysfunctional system is the energy which the syntropy uses to take the jump. In other words, you have to have disorder. You have to have crises in order for the system to take the jump. And it seems to me we have precisely the level of crisis we need. It occurred to me that what we need is nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovating elements in such a way that they could quickly connect with each other and jump the system to a higher order. And so I invented a wheel. I invented the wheel of co-creation. And I would like to declare that we place the wheel of co-creation to fill it out on a global scale, to reveal by 2020 that we already have a world that could work for all, and we can avoid the crisis and collapse foreseen. Thank you.
Well, it is 2020, 5 years since our last BTNW conference, and we agree with Barbara that the new world is taking shape right before our eyes. Today, some of the 2020 Building the New World speakers are here to share this good news in more detail, just as Barbara had hoped. So let's take a look at Sector 2, Media and Communications.
Greetings everyone, Stephen Dynako here. I am the founder of Social Chrysalis, and I am honored to be representing the communications and media sector of the wheel in the Building the New World Conference 2020. So I just want to read you a passage and then have you meditate on this for a moment and think about when this might have been written. So here it is. Open source of social media encourages free, engaging, and empowering activism to address issues like poverty, violence, pollution, and so on. The new news model requires an evolution of our concept of news itself to reporting on examples of what is emerging, creative, and actually new. It calls for us to become newsmakers ourselves. Through the internet and smartphones, we are all potentially communicators of the news stories. So just take a moment and think about that. And when do you think that might have been written? I mean, just the first thing that comes to your mind. Well, it seems appropriate that that might have been written within the last month or so. We've had such a incredible coverage on social media of all of the events, all of the tragic events that have led up to the current activism that's happening around the world, frankly. So you would think that this might be a passage that was written in an editorial in a recent issue of a newspaper. Well, actually, it was written around 2005 by Barbara Marx Hubbard in the updated version of her book, Conscious Evolution. So the media, as it's been transforming throughout the years, has become an avenue, a channel, a communications forum that is no longer controlled by a few. It is contributing, and it is contributed to by the people. And we've seen with this incredible contribution of the people in the media and to the media, and now as the media, we've seen these tremendous shifts happening in society, in law enforcement, in the media, in government, etc. So when we talk about building the new world, in the Building the New World conference in 2020, and we look at the communications and media sector of that wheel, we're really going to look very closely, and not just look closely, but really experience and understand and come to be empowered about how to participate even more expansively as the people, as the media. So I'm really excited about this particular sector in the Building the New World conference. We have certainly gone beyond theory. We've gone beyond just talking about what this looks like. When Barbara wrote about this in 2015, and actually the first version of her book, Conscious Evolution, came out in 1998, her idea of the new news is something that goes back a few decades, and now it's here. So rather than read about it, to theorize about it, and to conceptualize it, let's learn more about how do we contribute to it. And a lot of it has to do with what does our inner genius, what does our intuition tell us to do, and how can we show up in doing that. So rather than use this conference as a way to teach about communications and media, it's about how to participate in it actively and how to use your own evolutionary impulse to do that. So we look forward with great anticipation to seeing you all at the Building the New World conference in 2020. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Eric Stetson, and I'm the founder and president of Hedge for Humanity. Hedge for Humanity is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the principle that the economic gains from new technologies should be shared widely, instead of accumulating in the hands of a few. To achieve this goal, we're working to create a global social dividend system where profits from a high-tech investment fund will be distributed equally to everyone in the world. As the economy moves into the age of automation, more and more productive work will be done by machines. This means that whoever owns the technology and the intellectual property of these machines will earn large amounts of passive income, while people who are not owners will be left competing for an ever-dwindling number of jobs just to survive. As we go deeper into the 21st century, the economic dislocation of automation will affect all types of workers, not just blue-collar jobs. With the rise of artificial intelligence, even mental types of work will be increasingly automated. No one's livelihood will be safe, not even people with high levels of education. At Hedge for Humanity, our mission is to create the socioeconomic and technological infrastructure for a global system of universal basic income, funded by profits from the very same technologies that will be putting more and more people out of work. Universal Basic Income, or UBI, is an idea with a long and rich history, but it didn't get much attention during the last few decades. Today, as a result of the grassroots presidential campaign of Andrew Yang and the economic collapse and high unemployment caused by the coronavirus pandemic, there's a resurgence of interest and support for UBI. I became interested in this idea several years ago when I founded Hedge for Humanity in 2015. My background was as a progressive Christian minister, and also working for nonprofit organizations, including a charity helping impoverished children in Africa, and an organization advocating for reform of the Federal Reserve System to manage the US dollar according to more equitable principles. I'm a big believer in the importance of social and economic justice and lifting disadvantaged people out of poverty. In fact, it's a core part of my faith. When I learned about Bitcoin, I saw the potential for new forms of money to be created by people who care about these values, because blockchain technology makes it possible to build a new monetary system with any kind of rules for how the money supply gets created and distributed, including a system that helps to solve the problem of inequality. The first project of Hedge for Humanity was to create a cryptocurrency to be distributed equally to everyone as a social dividend or basic income. The currency we created, called Mana, was the first blockchain-based token to implement the economic principles of UBI. And in fact, it was the first large-scale currency of any kind to do this. Mana was distributed on a weekly basis for free to over 100,000 people in hundreds of countries around the world, and was capitalized in large part by tax-deductible donations. Our pilot program ran for more than 4 years, and we are now in the process of learning from what worked and what didn't work, and preparing to launch an updated version of Mana next year. In my presentation at Building the New World 2020, I'll be talking in more detail about universal basic income, its history and current prospects, and the potential for automation and artificial intelligence to totally transform the economy of the future in ways that will require UBI or social dividend systems to be widely implemented as a core part of humanity's new social contract. I'll also share more about what my organization is doing to help be part of the solution, to build a new world where every human being has access to the economic resources not only to survive, but to thrive. I hope you'll join us. Thank you.
Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Dr. Glen T. Martin. I'm very proud to be part of the Building a New World Conference 2020 that's coming up in September and October. As you know, the Building a New World Conference is based on Barbara Marx Hubbard's famous Wheel of Co-Creation. Right? 12 different sectors making up the wholeness of human existence, and we will be having speakers and workshops and material from the most advanced thinkers in all of these different sectors, from spirituality to art and literature to justice and governance. In justice and governance, we'll be looking at the Constitution for the Federation of Earth. And we'll be looking at it under the premise that we cannot solve our problems by doing more of what we're doing on the same level. Right now, our country, United States, is torn apart by protests about institutional racism. And people all over are saying that you can't solve the problem by adding more prisons, by adding more police, by having more weapons. You have to go to a higher level of integration, a higher level of mutual recognition, in which we all understand that we're our situation as human beings and integrate our economic, political, legal lives so that we live in greater harmony with one another. The same is true on the world level. Right? We live in a world that has massive unsustainability about it. The capitalist system, 3 to 4 centuries old, and when it was founded 3 to 4 centuries ago, they had no idea about the ecological structure of the planet, the ecological limits of the planet. It's a system predicated on growth, perpetual growth. And people, after the global pandemic that we're now experiencing, capitalists are talking about getting back to the growth model, the growth of nation states production and so on. But the ecological and environmental experts say you cannot have unlimited growth on a finite planet. It's an unsustainability system. So how do we convert to sustainability? It's also true on the level of justice and injustice, right? Our world today is permeated by injustice. Just like there's injustice within the United States in its institutionalized racist system, so the Myanmar people of northwestern China, we're told, are being incarcerated by maybe the millions in concentration camps, which the Chinese call re-education camps. Their human rights, their dignity being violated. The Rohingya people in Myanmar, persecuted by the government of Myanmar, by the military, driven from their homes, their villages burnt down, flooding into Bangladesh to live in refugee camps in misery and poverty. Going on today, right now, as we speak, the Kurds in Iran and Iraq and Syria, a minority persecuted, a minority whose human rights are regularly violated in those areas. The Palestinians living in the West Bank, which is called the largest open-air concentration camp in the world. Their rights routinely violated by the Israelis, who control everything on the West Bank. Their homes being bulldozed to make room for Israeli settlements and so on. The world is a place of terrible injustice. 1 billion people on this planet live in what the UN calls absolute poverty. We need to move to a higher level. We need a higher level of integration, a quantum jump. And the evolutionary process is about such quantum jumps. Right? When the dissociation, when the entropy reaches a certain point, nature reorganizes itself spontaneously, and the problems become solved at a higher level. And this is what we need to do in human life. We need to move to a level of self-awareness. Right? Third, our world is a war system. Right? It's an unsustainability system, it's an injustice system, and it's a war system. Right? 193 sovereign nations, most of them militarized, together spending $1.8 trillion US a year on weapons and war. And the big ones, like the United States and Russia, upgrading their nuclear weapons war fighting capacity that might wipe out humanity if it's ever used. This is an absurd way to live. We might die in any moment. Why should we live in a world which puts us on the brink of possible destruction day in, day out? Right? We don't have to do this. We could be moving to a higher level of integration, higher level of realization. And so how do we overcome the war system, the injustice system, and the unsustainability system? We can integrate, right? We can move to a higher level. We can realize that we're all citizens of this planet. More and more people around the world are thinking of themselves as global citizens, as part of a global consciousness that's emerging. And we can actualize this consciousness and transform it into a system, right? A sustainability system, a peace system, and a justice system that solves these fundamental problems precisely because we have become integrated at a higher level. So this is what we'll be talking about in Justice and Governance. And we'll be talking about the origins, the structure, the meaning of this, and how it's a very real possibility for our human life on this planet. And so I hope you'll join us, right? I hope you'll come to Building the New World. All kinds of exciting things are going on. Special things are being talked about. We welcome you to join us. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ken Kitatani. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you today to talk a little bit about Building the New World Conference and the subject of spirituality and religion. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the different prophecies and predictions that come from the ancient wisdom traditions, that is the religions and spiritual traditions of the East and the West and throughout the world, and the different prophecies that come from the indigenous spiritualities of the world. The common thread that all of these traditions talk about are specifically about the world that we're encountering now, all of us as humankind. Certainly, I think we can understand and agree that we are living in interesting times, challenging times. We are experiencing things that humankind has never experienced before. But what is so wonderful and hopeful is that all of these prophecies and predictions from the different wisdom traditions talk about the bright future, a hopeful world that we are all preparing for. And that these challenges and that these interesting things that we're experiencing at this time together are simply a process that we have to go through as we usher in this new age. We can all understand that in the past centuries, humankind has endeavored in materialistic growth, and certainly we have achieved great achievements in science and technology, in economics, although it depends on how you define achievements. But certainly materialistic growth and the development of societies based on this materialism has achieved great change. At the same time, the great changes that we are encountering include many difficulties as a result of this excessive materialism. We are now facing different impasses and deadlocks and challenges, solutions to which we are not so clear, solutions to which we are still seeking. In this way, the universe, or you can say the Creator, is forcing all of us to come together to find common solutions to these global issues. The wisdom traditions and prophecies all speak about these challenges as the process of deconstruction and reconstruction, the process of breakdown before breakthrough, or other expressions that are used are expressions such as a cleansing process and purification process, the painful process of birth, in other words, birthing a completely new civilization. This new civilization we seek is part of the prophecy. In other words, a civilization and society that is peaceful, just, sustainable, that which is based on spiritual values and ethics. The amazing thing is that all of these predictions and prophecies talk about this bright future. It is a very hopeful future. And therefore, all of us who follow these traditions or who study these traditions can garner and hold within ourselves great hope and enthusiasm. The challenge that is given to us is how many of us in the world can unite and converge and work together to co-create this new civilization. Depending on how many of us can awaken spiritually, elevate our consciousness, and at the same time unify to work together as one group, will determine the ultimate outcome. In other words, the question is whether it will be a soft landing, hard landing, or crash landing. What is promised in all of these prophecies and prediction is that certainly without a doubt, this new civilization and new world will appear. It is out of compassion and love that all of us have a great desire to invite and work together with as many people as possible. So I think this is the biggest challenge that we have as light workers, as seed people, as bridge builders, people who have a great desire to create this new world. In the Building the New World conference, I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail of these different prophecies and traditions, and the different types of solutions that humankind will inspire, to create, to co-create, the different types of solutions that are being offered at this time, both spiritually and also materially. Once again, I'd like to conclude by saying that it's a great pleasure and honor to work together with all of you in this work that we are doing together for the creation of this new world.
Convoy. My name is Shama Viola.
My name is Barys,
I've been living in Damanhur, a community in Italy, for 20 years.
and I was born and raised in Damanhur, and I've been an active Damanhurian citizen since almost 8 years.
We would like to present to you the joys and pains of living communally, the growth that can be had by sharing with others, by learning to relate to others, by learning to be in solidarity and interact with each other in a new way, in an old and ancient way that we need to reclaim.
Damanhur have worked very hard to create a real community that spanning almost every possible field, from education to spirituality to economy, and we really wanted to create a new world. And we tried to actually make it happen in the real world, so that from our experience we can also share what we learned with the rest of the world.
In Damanhur, we try to be a society, a full-fledged society that has all areas covered, from medical to educational to spirituality to business, you name it. We really attempt to live a life that is full and has a quality of life that is quite high.
We've been able to shape both the reality around ourselves. We created the beautiful temples of humankind and many other beautiful and sacred spaces dedicated to the reconnection with ourselves and with the planet, with the environment. And at the same time, we've been reshaping ourselves. So Damanhur is a society built for the personal transformation and from the global transformation. And
in fact, we believe ourselves to be builders. We have created wonderful surroundings, beautiful and also ecological. We try to be very much in touch with nature, but we are building to put a mark, something solid that shows that we are here, we are present, and we would like to be an example to others.
To create a society in which the single individual can shine using all of the talents, all of the positive aspects, and is able to work on everything the person wants to work, and at the same time have a very strong group that together can create things that are almost impossible, such as the temples of humankind, completely dug underground in more than 45 years of work.
Yes, we have been around 45 years and we have experience that we would like to share with the world.
So all together we would like to bring you the experience of Damanhur and the experience of more than 600 people living for 45 years, more than 45 years in community. And now Damanhur is also a worldwide community. So from an Italian experience, now we are really an international experience.
We are very open to the world. We are inviting anybody to come, to join us, to collaborate, to share with us. And we are willing to come and share with others teaching and sharing how we did it, our errors and our victories, in order to help people to reconnect and reclaim this wonderful element of the community, which could be a variety of ways. It doesn't mean living together, but community is a powerful, important something that we need to reclaim.
And sharing experiences is undoubtedly the essence of the community.
What can we share about Damanhur, Barys? What is something that our audience might find interesting about us?
Well, one of the most interesting things about Damanhur is that even if we wanted to create a collective culture and a collective experience, Damanhur really worked hard on integrating diversity and expressing internal diversity. Damanhur is a federation of community, but every Damanhurian community have different way to approach, to organize itself, to manage the decision-making process, to manage economy, to manage the social life. And we always really valued this element of trying different models, integrating, and really trial and test and trial.
Yes. Also, each community is autonomous and makes their own choices about how to invest their resources, what to focus upon, if on self-sufficiency or in any other thing that that group of people chooses. And so, as a federation, we are all under the umbrella of Damanhur, but each community is very independent and autonomous in its expression.
Yeah, both from a cultural perspective, symbols, flags, we always really much liked playing with these elements, but really also on different models. We want to try, we want to test different models so that the essence, what's working, can then be applied by the whole community, and so collectively we can make a new step. So again, trying new things, trying new model. We are so much in contact with the world that we constantly have feedbacks and constantly suggestions, and people that come to Damanhur to share their experience, so we can enrich the collective experience with all of the contribution of all of the people who come to Damanhur.
And one of the things that Damanhur inspires in people is the art. The art surrounds us completely. The Temple of Humankind is an amazing work of art from living artists. And everything that we attempt to do in our environment, we try to express beauty. And for us, art is really a way to express the soul of the individual. So we hope to see you at the conference. We are looking forward to share in details all of our experiences and the complexity of Damanhur.
So see you soon.
Convoy.
Convoy.
And, you know, I've always been excited by Martin Luther King, the I Have a Dream speech. This is my dream. Actually, now that I'm saying it, because it was even hard for me to articulate it till I talked with you. So I have a dream that the human species will mobilize itself through love, starting at the most intimate level of the family and upwards to society and to all life on this earth and probably beyond in the universe, to say no to thermonuclear bombs and to the climate change behavior pattern that is supporting industries and fuel industries and so on. We say no. Yeah. But we say yes to planetary evolution. Yeah. Based on the greatness and goodness of everybody. And every field and every function has so much goodness in it. And I, therefore, Barbara, have a dream that we do this. And I will see who else has the dream.
Right.
We have the same dream, Barbara, and we're going to manifest it. To learn more about how you can help, please join us at the Building the New World Conference in September. For more information, visit www.btnw.world.